Anyway, Zach, Harry would extend dry fasting, potentially remove stored seed oils and toxins faster from the body with the removal of fat during the fast. Look, you'll basically you will basically release more free fatty acid than normal than on a dry fast. That's definitely going to happen. But then on a dry fast, you're not taking in neither the B vitamins, and you're not taking in either the low dose vitamin E, are you? No. So, and I do have that little protocol thing that I discuss about, losing weight, but obviously that the amount of that you're going to be releasing in any small fast is not going to be massive. It's not going to be a big problem. Your intracellular antioxidants should be able to take care of that. So let's not over exaggerate the problem in that regard. But be very careful when you're doing a dry fast. If you don't feel, always go in a low ketotic state, in a ketotic state before you do a dry fast. You've got to be in ketosis. If you're not in ketosis, do not do a dry fast, because it'll take 3 days before you'll feel like rat shit. Not only will you feel like rat shit, but it can be negative if people got underlying conditions or other things. So I don't recommend dry fast unless you're in ketosis, and unless you've got unless you really are really good at understanding the biochemistry and what's involved in the physiology. You should be under supervision of some sort, at least, or somebody know that you're actually doing that and keeping an eye on you just in case. And you should never push through. If you're not feeling, I'm not feeling that great, stop it. It's not a competition to win medals. Do not put yourself at risk ever, Zach. If you try it, make sure you're in ketosis before you go into a dry fast. Make sure you take 3 days prior. I usually recommend people consume B vitamins. I want a lot of B vitamins in the body, because you'll release from your fat stores fat-soluble vitamins, but you will turn over in 3 days, in less than 3 days sometimes, your B vitamins. So I usually recommend people do three, sort of a bit like, we do creatine loading, well, vitamin B loading into the system, plus choline for exporting of fat. I usually recommend people do for 3 days about, normally I usually say, 1 gram, 3 grams for 3 days. I want your choline levels to be high as well. So in that regard, and so you've got your choline levels high and all that, your taurine levels is high as well, like saturating your tissues up to 10 grams for 3 days, and high dose of vitamin D as well. And then you go into it. So you're in a ketotic state. You've got rising ketones, and you're already in ketosis. Switching across is just taking away the food. That's it. So it is just, you'll smooth in quite nicely. Stick to 3 days. I was pushing to 4 days, but if it's the first time, definitely 3 days. Do not go over ever on a dry fast over 6 days. And you have to be really good to go that far, in terms of knowledge and listening to your body and all that. I would say most people, the majority of people, should never do a fast that long and should stick to 3 days, 3 to 4, maybe 4 days, but 3 days, should be your target. You're going to get all the benefits. You'll get amplified. Remember, 1 day of fasting of dry fasting is like 2 days of wet fasting, the equivalent. So doing 3 days is like doing, 6 days of, water fasting in that regard. So, and the reason for the high taurine levels that I like putting in 3 days prior is simple. I want enough taurine in there for the electrolyte side of things. So you get a much smoother ride coming into it in that regard. Way more smoother ride. I mean, I did 3.5 and then I stopped it because I was going to do 4, but I stopped it deliberately because I needed to reset my gut because a day later I was going to have a barbecue with my brother and some others. So I had to stop it. I had no option. So, and I wanted at least to have 24 hours to sort of smooth back into normal eating. So that was the only reason I had to stop it under those circumstances. But if that wasn't on, if the barbecue wasn't on, I would have continued to 4 days. That was my plan. So I only did 3.5. So anyway, that's for another time to try that again. But yeah, so always listen to your body. I've done dry fasts where I've done 1 day and then I haven't really felt, I'm not really feeling that great. I've stopped it. We're not handing out medals. So do not put yourself at risk. So if you're feeling fantastic, day 2, day 3, I had a lot of energy. I was still going to work. I was still working. These were regular work days. Actually, I was very productive because I was in deep ketosis and I was in a really good state. But if somebody's not fat adapted, definitely never do a dry fast. If you're not fat adapted, you've got to be you have to know you're fat adapted. Basically, if you do a dry fast, within 24 hours, you will feel so bad and so brain fogged and really weak because you're not fat adapted. You'll really be like crappy. So you'll know very fast. So, and my urine was normal, very little. I only had very little urine, but it was, it wasn't dark at all. It was only on after the third day that my urine got a bit more concentrated and a bit more, yellower. That was it. But I was actually concerned that it was too light in the first day, and I'm going, why is it still light? Why am I not seeing any concentration, getting yellower? So, because I did have some low deuterium water before that, and I'm going, it's probably the water that probably affected the first day and, sort of still having a diluting effect on the second day. And so maybe I was thinking that's the reason behind it. I don't know. Maybe it's a possibility. But yeah, but the thing is, my system sort of resolved and sorted itself out. So really, really important that you prepare properly. Bart I don't do consultancies, as you guys know. Bart does do consultancies. And if you want to basically biohack properly, the actual physiologically and the type of, because he can tell you whether you can do what sort of exercises and all sorts, because remember, he does have advanced degree academic qualifications in sports physiology. Bart really is smart on all this sort of stuff. I've learned a lot about sports physiology from Bart, about how the energy system works within the muscles, the 3 cogs that he calls it, all this sort of stuff. And looked at some of his studies as well. So he understands physiology really well as a top academic. So if you want, consult with him and he can guide you properly when it comes to these sort of things. So if you want to play around with it.